Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you a story that might feel uncomfortably familiar, a story about people who are called lazy but secretly carry huge ambitions inside them, a story that can change how you see yourself forever. This is not a lecture, not a motivational speech full of shouting, and not a list of rules. This is a single story, told calmly, honestly, and deeply, because sometimes understanding yourself is more powerful than trying to force yourself to change. There was once a boy named Adam, and from the outside, Adam looked lazy. Teachers said he had so much potential but no discipline. Relatives compared him to cousins who woke up early, studied hard, and followed routines. Friends joked that Adam was always tired, always delaying things, always saying, "I'll do it tomorrow." And Adam believed them. Slowly, painfully, he accepted the label. Lazy. Unreliable. Unmotivated. But inside Adam's mind, something very different was happening. When he was alone, he imagined a future where he was respected, free, and successful. He imagined building something meaningful, being known for his ideas, and living a life that mattered. His dreams were not small. They were big, detailed, emotional, and alive. The strange part was this. The bigger his dreams were, the harder it became for him to start doing anything. This is where the psychology of lazy but ambitious people begins, and it's not about laziness at all. Adam wasn't avoiding work because he didn't care. He was avoiding work because he cared too much. Every task felt heavy, not because it was difficult, but because it felt connected to his entire future. One small mistake felt like proof that he would never become the person he dreamed of being. So his mind learned a dangerous trick. Delay. Scroll. Distract. Sleep. Anything to escape that pressure. Psychologists call this a form of avoidance driven by fear, but to the world, it looks like laziness. When Adam sat down to study, his mind didn't see a textbook. It saw expectations. When he thought about starting a project, his mind didn't see step 1. It saw the possibility of failure, judgment, and disappointment. So his brain chose short-term comfort over long-term growth, not because he was weak, but because his nervous system was overwhelmed. Lazy but ambitious people often have very sensitive minds. They think deeply. They imagine outcomes vividly. They feel things strongly. And because of this, they are more likely to overthink, overanalyze, and freeze. Action feels risky. Inaction feels safe, at least for now. Adam would lie in bed at night, telling himself tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow he would wake up early. Tomorrow he would focus. Tomorrow he would finally become disciplined. But morning came, and with it came the same invisible weight. His ambition whispered, "You could be great," and his fear replied, "What if you're not?" So he did nothing. One day, something small but important happened. Adam overheard a conversation that wasn't meant for him. Someone he respected said, "He's smart, but he's just lazy." People like that never change. Those words didn't make him angry. They made him quiet. Because a part of him feared they were true. That night, instead of escaping into distractions, Adam did something different. He asked himself a question he had never asked honestly before. Not, "Why am I so lazy?" but, "What am I protecting myself from?" That question changed everything. He realized that every time he avoided work, he was protecting himself from the pain of trying and failing. Every time he procrastinated, he was protecting his identity as someone with potential, because as long as he didn't try, his dream stayed perfect. Untouched. Safe. Once he tried, it could break. This is one of the most important truths about ambitious but lazy people. They don't fear hard work. They fear the emotional consequences of effort. They fear discovering their limits. They fear realizing that their dreams require patience, boredom, and imperfect progress. So they wait for motivation. But motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. Adam began to understand that his problem wasn't discipline. It was his relationship with effort. In his mind, effort meant pressure. Effort meant judgment. Effort meant risking his self-worth. So his brain avoided it like danger. The turning point didn't come when Adam suddenly became energetic or confident. It came when he lowered the emotional cost of action. Instead of telling himself, "I must change my life," he told himself, "I will work for 5 minutes." Instead of saying, "This decides my future," he said, "This is just practice." Instead of demanding perfection, he allowed himself to be average, messy, and slow. And something unexpected happened. 5 minutes turned into 10. Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes was enough. Ambitious but lazy people often think change requires a dramatic transformation. Waking up at 5 a.m., cold showers, extreme routines. But their minds don't respond well to force. They respond to safety. When action feels safe, it becomes possible. Adam stopped asking, "How do I become disciplined?" and started asking, "How do I make starting easier?" He changed his environment instead of his personality. He kept his phone in another room. He broke tasks into embarrassingly small steps. He allowed rest without guilt. He stopped insulting himself. This is another psychological trap lazy but ambitious people fall into. Self-hate. They think criticizing themselves will push them forward, but it does the opposite. Shame drains energy. Kindness restores it. As Adam slowly built trust with himself, something shifted. Not his ambition, but his confidence in small actions. He learned that consistency is not built by intensity, but by repetition without fear. There were still days when he did nothing. But instead of giving up, he noticed the pattern. When he was overwhelmed, he paused. When he was tired, he rested intentionally instead of escaping mindlessly. When he failed, he adjusted instead of quitting. Over time, people started noticing changes. Not dramatic success, but reliability. Follow through. Calm focus. And the most surprising part was this. Adam didn't feel like he was forcing himself anymore. He felt like he was cooperating with his mind instead of fighting it. The psychology of lazy but ambitious people is often misunderstood because the world values visible effort, not invisible struggle. It praises hustle but ignores fear. It rewards discipline but rarely teaches emotional regulation. Many ambitious people are labeled lazy when they are actually anxious, perfectionistic, or burned out. Their ambition keeps their standards high, and their sensitivity makes those standards heavy. If you see yourself in this story, understand this. You are not broken. You are not weak. And you are not lazy in the way you think. Your mind is trying to protect you, even if it's doing it in an unhelpful way. Real change begins when you stop trying to become a different person and start working with the person you already are. You don't need more pressure. You need clarity. You don't need more motivation. You need smaller steps. You don't need self-criticism. You need self-trust. Adam's life didn't suddenly become perfect. He didn't become a productivity machine. But he became something more important. Consistent enough to move forward, patient enough to stay, and kind enough to try again. And that is how ambition finally stopped feeling like a burden and started feeling like direction.